So those are the national anthems being played during the procession. Something interesting about the coach that is carrying the royal parade and the President of the United States and the First Lady, the Trumps, the King, the Queen, the Prince and the Princess of Wales have stepped onto their royal carriages. Coach 1, first in the procession, will be King Charles and President Trump, who are traveling in the Irish state coach. Coach 2 will be their respective wives, Queen Camilla and the First Lady, Melania Trump, together in the Scottish state coach. Coach 3, in the next carriage, a semi-state Landau model, will be the Prince and Princess of Wales, joined by the US Ambassador and his wife. Coach 4, following when some of the most senior figures in Trump's administration, including Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Overseas Envoy Steve Witkoff, traveling in an escort Landau coach. Finally, a second escort Landau coach will carry senior assistants to the President and the First Lady. So the procession has already begun. They are heading to the castle, where a guard of honor will greet the party, who the King will invite Trump to join him in inspecting. There will also be a fly past by the UK and US F-35 military jets and the Red Arrows. Following a state lunch, the President will pay his respects to the late Queen in private before a short tour of St. George's Chapel. That evening, a traditional state banquet will be held at the castle, during which both the King and President will deliver their speeches. So it is official. President Trump has begun his state visit to the United Kingdom. If you're just joining us, this is the state visit by US President Donald Trump and First Lady Melania Trump to the United Kingdom, and the procession has already begun. As you can see on your screens, what will follow next is a flurry of activity. Once at the castle, a guard of honor will greet the party, who the King will invite Trump to join him in inspecting. There will also be a fly past by UK and US F-35 military jets and the Red Arrows. Following a state lunch, the President will pay his respects to the late Queen in private before a short tour of St. George's Chapel. That evening, or later this evening, a traditional state banquet will be held at the castle, during which both the King and the President will deliver their speeches.
All right, so U.S. President Donald Trump in Britain for that unprecedented second state visit. The UK government rolling out the royal red carpet for the leader. This is a crucial visit, of course, coming at a very significant time as well. U.S. President Donald Trump and First Lady Melania Trump kicking off their first full day of that historic second state visit to Britain, welcomed by the Prince and Princess of Wales. This is also a grand security operation, remember, around the royal residence. Let's go straight across now to our correspondent, Susan Tehrani, who's been tracking those developments for us. Susan, just explain to our viewers, first of all, the significance of what we are witnessing at this point. The fact that this is an unprecedented, historic second state visit to Britain taking place.
Right, it really is, Molly. And when President Trump did arrive at Windsor Castle in this royal carriage, he was really heralded by 3 separate military bands and escorted by riders on horseback. And of course, the host is King Charles III, in some ways really repaying a nearly 37-year-old favor. And the reason I say that is because just back in 1988, then Prince of Wales was a guest for tea at Mar-a-Lago, Trump's own mansion in Palm Beach, Florida, and the visit offered, President Trump really this royal connection. That's why he keeps saying King Charles is my very good friend, even if Charles elected to spend the night at a horse ranch and not at Mar-a-Lago at that time. Yes, it's long reverence of the British royal family, and Trump's visit to the United Kingdom really offers a similar opportunity, a stamp of validation applied with honor guards and a state banquet, and from some of the same people who he holds genuine to the point of unwavering respect. So it is very unprecedented. Usually each president has one state visit. Despite the fact that they may be elected twice, this is very unusual circumstances, but nonetheless, it's just absolutely extraordinary to watch, just the ceremony and everything. And it's, it's a time that not only they sort of reassess UK-US relations, with all the tariffs and everything that's going on. That's going to be later on this week politically, but just the pageantry itself is very interesting to see that King Charles has done this for a U.S. president.
Right, and for our viewers who might just be tuning in, Susan, if you can just lay out also what is expected to unfold over the next few hours.
Right, so it is a jam-packed day. We have this arrival ceremony, and then we are going to expect a private luncheon, and then we're going to see at 3 p.m. St. George's Chapel and wreath laying at the tomb of Queen Elizabeth II. The press pool is going to be there, although we've been told that it's going to be a private sort of event. And then later on, the beating retreat of military ceremony, followed by a fly past F-35s and red arrows. And then it'll wrap up with the big state banquet. That's very restricted, of course, to the press, but we are going to get a glimpse of that. And that's going to be the day for today. No speeches or no talking to the camera. None of that is going to happen. The ceremonies are mostly going to happen today.
Right, Susan, we're also, getting in the inputs about the kind of security arrangements that have been undertaken, of course, given the given the concerns around the demonstrations that have been organized by Stop the Trump coalition. So this, of course, is a grand security operation. Let's also talk about the very fact that this is coming at a very crucial time. The optics of it aside, we are talking about the red carpet being laid out for the U.S. President and the First Lady at a time like this, when we are looking at a lot of the conversations that have been taking place between the U.S. and the U.K. on a lot of sensitive issues.
Yes, very, very, very important indeed. You talked about a security presence for Donald Trump. Really, the murder of Charlie Kirk increased pressure on police plans, while the Epstein case cast a shadow over U.S. President's trip. As we saw demonstrators taking part, of course, you had the ambassador, Peter Nettleson, being recalled as well. It really is a significant time, but there is also those political implications that you mentioned, and I think we're going to hear more about that tomorrow when he visits Keir Starmer and then he has a press conference. I think we'll get a better understanding on where the country stands. But nonetheless, this pageantry and ceremony on the one hand, but then, of course, business as usual, so to say, on the other.
All right. Leaving it there for the moment, Susan, thanks very much for those inputs. Let's continue to play out for our viewers the latest images coming in from Windsor Castle.
Your Honor, close order, march! Your Honor, we'll move to the left in threes. 4 threes! Left! Your Honor, further right! bodyguard, move to the right file. Right pass. King's bodyguard, by the centre.
All right, so the UK rolling out that royal carpet for US President Donald Trump and First Lady Melania Trump, that grand procession. Of course, a huge show of pomp and pageantry. This is an unprecedented second historic state visit that's taking place.